I hit record. The only way out is through. Friends and grasshoppers, this is the Formless Podcast, episode number 151. With Tyler, the superhuman, me, Dustin, and today's guest, Jonathan Klem. Did I get that right, sir?
Absolutely. Thank
awesome. You. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, business owner, family man. Am I forgetting anything there? Did I miss anything?
Pretty much sums it up. Yeah. Between the business owner and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, that's like the whole of my personality. Also family man, though. Yeah. I really love my son and my wife. So
that's important. That's important. Mm-hmm. You live with them, so you should.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
thank you. Pleasure to be on.
Jonathan, we've been emailing back and forth, and I've been like looking for an angle to talk about and the different things. And I always send an email, especially with the people that I don't personally know yet. Like, hey, what are some things that you do? What do you, and you gave me some details, and it was awesome. You started jiu-jitsu in 2020, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it was right around peak COVID times.
Okay.
Okay. And a good fun time right there.
Was it like I have to find something to do so I don't go crazy, or what?
It was actually, my wife had informed me that we were about to have a son, and my father had passed away before the age of 50, congestive heart failure. And at the time that I got this news, I was hovering around 275 pounds, and it was not a good 275. Like, it was, a very soft, smushy, 275. And I was just thinking to myself, man, I cannot put my son through that, right? Like, I want to set a good example for him. I want to, be there for him and possibly my grandchildren. And I really got involved in, I need to do some more cardio. I need to lift some more weights. And then through sheer happenstance, well, I think it's just like, CrossFit, being a vegan, practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? If you do it, you talk about it. And we met a guy. It was actually our financial planner of all guys. He started talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Let me check that out. And I went, and thankfully he was, my friendly face to kind of introduce me to it and get me through some of those hurdles of, I don't belong here. This isn't for me. And it just took a hold of me, and I've been obsessed ever since. And thankfully that's been the sort of the North Star in terms of all the other health benefits. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of people talk about, as your technique gets better, you'll get fatter again. Right. And that may be the case, cause you use fewer calories. But for me, it's always been one of those, if I'm not eating right, if I'm not, being healthy, I feel it on the mats. And I love being on the mats. And I love my mat time, and I'm trying to get as much of that as possible. And so for me anyways, that's my motivation, or that's my thing that kind of just keeps me going, keeps me physically active. And also it's like a physical meditation, right? Like a meditation in motion, where for that hour or 2 hours that I am practicing jiu-jitsu, I am just focused on choking, not getting choked, joint manipulation, whatever. I'm not worried about work or taxes or traffic or any of these other ancillary things that are happening outside. I'm just in the moment, and I'm focused on that. And the fun part too is my son, I got him started when he was 3, and he's 5 now, and he's loving it as well. And so I'm hoping that he kind of grows with that, and that's something that, as a father and son, we can do together.
Yeah.
Now, what are you? What's your rank right now?
I'm a 2-stripe blue belt.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say my entire family practices martial arts, and it's cool. Like I've gone through all of the ranges of emotions of like I didn't promote. I don't want to do this anymore, or I love this, or, just like all of these things back and forth. And it's the greatest thing that I've ever done with a positive output for my family. And so that's awesome to see that you're doing it. I will tell you, if you do this for a long time and your son becomes a teenager, which he will, he's going to push back. And there's going to be this urge to strangle him and force him to go. Don't do that, because then he's going to hate
Interesting.
it. He's going to hate it. So you offer and you offer and you offer, even though the answer is going to be no. You just offer, and you just be that constant, steady stream of offering. And then he'll find a girl or something, and then they'll be at jiu-jitsu, and he'll be like, hey, what's, and it'll have nothing to do with you. And he'll tell you to your face, oh no, it wasn't your influence, Dad.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, it sounds like you're speaking from influence or from
inside experience. Yeah. Yes. Firsthand.
We'll see how that happens, because like right now, the traditional 5-year-old, he's kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, oh, it's a jiu-jitsu day, I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu. And it's like, well, tough, you're going to. But then afterwards, it's always, man, I had so much fun, and all that stuff. And he also trains at their gym, does MMA as well. So like some days it's striking, some days it's jiu-jitsu. And he had this one experience where a kid was going a little rough, and I was like, you only go as hard as you want to go, or you only punch as hard as you want to be punched back, and all. And he knows that, right? And the guy was escalating things. It was a kid, but anyways, long story short, my son got him. He mounted him. He did a little ground and pound, and he was excited. He was talking to his mom. Hey, I punched a kid in the face today. It was so awesome. And I was like, heck yeah, buddy. You got to stay on that energy there. Yeah. But
yeah. The mats have a way of showing you all of the emotions. Like, you're going to have like super excited, super highs of like, yeah, I did it. And you're also going to have those lows of like, I can't do this to save my life.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that, but that's amazing. That's really cool. Awesome that you got the kid. So was it like love at first sight when you first walked in that door? Or was it like,
it's hard to say, because especially at the gym that I train at, they do fairly lengthy warm up, but it's good in that we do jacqueries and a bunch of these other like weird movements that are not intuitive at all, or at least not for me, they weren't. And so it was interesting how it was one of those where when I first started, there were several times where I had to kind of force myself to go. And it's like, oh man, there's jiu-jitsu. Which is interesting because I empathize a bit with my son in that regard. But I always felt better afterwards. And eventually it just progressed to the point where it's like, no, now it's jiu-jitsu time. We're going to go. And more often than not, it's one of those where work stress and other stuff, it's maybe not in my best interest to take an hour during the middle of the day and train, but I do it anyways. Yeah. Because I just want that reset. Because it's easy for me to get in that tunnel vision, and I'm just going to grind away and that kind of stuff. And I feel like I perform better anyways if I just take a nice little reset midday and get my training in, and then I can come back and attack work problems with a new mindset.
It's medicine, man. Like
I believe, yeah,
it's medicine for me anyway. Like my mental health, my physical health. Like it's like the all-in-one capsule that all the vitamin companies sell. It's like the legit all-in-one capsule.
I don't think there was ever a day that I've showed up to training where I was like, man, I wish I wouldn't have gone to training. Like, like every time you walk through that door, we have a saying that our teacher's teacher says, it's walk through that door. It's just show up. The hardest part, the only thing that's keeping you from your black belt is walking through the door. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, sure. I'm curious too. So you started during the height of COVID. So now I heard this about some like jiu-jitsu schools that like they were putting up like, newspaper in the windows and blocking out, outside, so people outside couldn't see in. Like how did that work with COVID? Like for us, being a stand-up striking art, we could kind of like, tape out your area on the mat and not have to touch people essentially. How did that work with jiu-jitsu? Did they
thankfully I hit right at the tail end. And I think the gym that I'm at kind of was a little willy-nilly about it in that regard. So thankfully, I didn't really see any of the weird stuff. But I know there was a lot of gyms here locally where they would limit your training partners and they would do what you're talking about where, hey, we're going to do social distancing and that kind of stuff. But I mean, thankfully, again, it was right at the tail end of the pandemic. And so by the time that I really got active in it, thankfully it wasn't as big of a deal. It could just be a regional thing on that. But yeah, it was definitely one of those where it was funny because outside of class though, it was like, hey, we're going to mask up, and at Walmart was still doing the weird things with you'd have to walk in a certain path throughout the store. The fun times.
Yeah.
Then you get to class and you're like, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah,
we're gonna wear masks while we're rolling. That would be the funny part.
Smother our face in your armpit for the next 45 minutes. And that's cool. So how long were you practicing before you had your injury?
So that was about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And I had finally gotten my blue belt. I was still a blue belt at the time. And it was one of those where, admittedly, I think that I may have had a meniscus issue way before practicing jiu-jitsu. But jiu-jitsu obviously did me no favors in that I had my left knee was always a little clicky sometimes, and it would feel like it would out of place. And again, this was before I was practicing jiu-jitsu, but obviously jiu-jitsu started to make it worse. And I remember the very first incident we were practicing, it was doing omoplatas and how, you do the windshield wiper sitting at the end of it. And I remember doing that and hearing a pop, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then my knee was pretty sore. And there were a couple other instances where it was popping and then, wow, my knee, this really sucks. And maybe I'm just going to try to get side control or something. I'm not going to try to do some crazy movement. But hilariously, I had an incident. I went to, I guess he was an orthopedic guy, and they did some x-rays or an MRI. And it was hilarious because he swore up and down. He's like, you do not have a bucket handle tear. Because I remember hearing on a Joe Rogan podcast, that was the one that they mentioned. I think it was Johnny Bravo. Yeah. And I was concerned. I was like, man, I do not want to have this. And he swore up and down, nope, this isn't what you have. And so hilariously, we were close to a vacation. I remember that. We were going to go to Disney, and my wife is telling me, hey, you need to slow down. You just had an incident here where you had to go to this orthopedic guy. I don't want you messing things up for Disney. Well, of course I didn't listen, and I'm training at another gym. And this is the funny part too, because people think, oh, I got injured. Yeah, somebody ripped a heel hook on me or something cool like that, where you could blame the other guy or something like that.
That's what I thought when you first said that.
It's so much more pathetic, right? And I will say I was cross training at another gym, and we were doing a technique which I think is a little silly. I don't think it necessarily happens in real roles, but if someone has very sloppy side control, you can get them in an arm bar, right? And if you hike your knee up and grab their arm and that kind of, we were doing this kind of weird motion. So the motion, if you could visualize it, I was just shooting my knee up to my chest as quickly as possible. And that was it. I was under some dude's side control. I did that. I felt like a little squirt in my knee. And all of a sudden I couldn't straighten it out. And it was hilarious too, because it was a noon class. I typically hit up the noon classes because I guess I'm a freak like that or whatever. It's easier for me to get away during the day as opposed to, telling my family I'm going to neglect them, in the afternoons for me anyways. But it was a father-son combo and then me. And I just remember writhing around in pain, trying to tap on my knee because sometimes I noticed that if I tapped on it, like something would click and I would be able to straighten it out. And I was tapping on it, and it wasn't happening. And I'm just like, oh. And then I was trying to make it less awkward. I was like, no, go ahead, continue training, guys. I'm fine, And I'm just tapping my knee, trying to straighten it out. That would not work. And so I ended up somehow standing up, and it was to the point where I could not fully stand or walk. And instead I would have to do this sort of half squat and put my hands on my knees to move myself. And I did not want to call my wife, and I did not want to admit to any of this. And she and my son were actually like 45 minutes away. There's this like water park that they were having a day at. And I ended up throughout all this, I ended up walking almost 2 football fields, hobbling around, because I got myself to my car, and then I drove to this urgent care, and on the side of the building it says X-rays, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, I'm gonna go here, and then and again I'm hobbling and trying, going through all this pain, and they're like, yeah, unfortunately we don't do X-rays here. And it's like, okay, what does the side of the building say? And then they gave me an example of this place. It's called Tri-State Ortho, and they had a really huge parking lot, and of course I couldn't get up there, so I'm hobbling, and it was horrible. And eventually too, I was literally just in my gi, and so I'm sitting here like hobbling in my gi going to this place, and I did not have my wallet on me. And it was a $50 copay, and the whole thing was just like this whole rigmarole, and it was horrible. I had to get my father-in-law to come out because my wife was, away to give me cash and all this. It was a bucket handle tear. The thing that the guy told me it was absolutely 100% not. But I will tell you, they ended up giving me crutches, and they did some stuff to like straighten out my leg and got it to the point at least where I wasn't writhing around in pain. It was still super painful, but it wasn't unbearably so. And we ended up going to Disney World, and I was just walking around in crutches the entire time, and we did all the rides and everything. And so, we at least that didn't interfere with the family vacation. Let me put it that way.
So you weren't in super trouble, just a little.
Yeah, just a little. My wife obviously hit me with the "I told you so" and all that, and
oh yeah,
I ended up getting the repair instead of the meniscectomy, and the recovery process. I don't know if you guys have seen the comparison on that. I'm jealous of the people who just get it cut out, because I keep hearing it's like, I was off the mats for 2 weeks and I was back, or whatever. I was walking 3 days later. The repair was horrible. And I remember telling my wife, because I was concerned about having to take painkillers and all that. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to like have a mouth guard and kind of grit my teeth and just kind of sweat it out. Absolutely not. Thankfully, I didn't have to take all of them. It was only like the first 3 days I really had to stay medicated. But those first 3 days were super rough. And it was one of those where just constantly in pain. And a couple times I'm trying to like fall asleep, and then the nerves in my leg would twitch, and then that would activate my knee, and it would wake me up, and I'm in a bunch of pain. And it was horrible. But being the dedicated or idiotic guy that I am, depending on who you ask there, right? I was very much motivated. I wanted to try to get back on the mats as soon as possible. Yeah. And it was one of those, thankfully, it was kind of weird how it was set up. It was about 6 months post-surgery. A buddy of mine had this like little get together at his house, and I was able to get some rolls in 6 months post-surgery. Oddly enough, I was like shortly after that, I was sitting with my legs crossed for too long, and I went and I uncrossed them, and all of a sudden there was like this sharp pain, and that got me kind of concerned. So it kind of set me back, I guess, oddly enough, just sitting wrong. But thankfully, about 9 months to a year post-surgery, I was able to get back to it. And so thankfully I'm back training 5 days a week now, give or take. Try to stay pretty active in it.
So how old are you, Jonathan?
I am 37.
Okay.
So yeah, the marvelous 30s. That was like,
yeah.
Those middle 30s is right when I started to like, my body's falling apart.
Yep. That's why I asked. How old were you when this happened? Was it this year or last year?
It was probably 2 years ago. So it was about 35.
Yep.
When it happened.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right about the point. Like,
yeah.
You're like, tell me about it.
Tyler's broken his leg. I've given myself a hernia. Like we've eye gouges. We've had all sorts of injuries between us.
Yeah. I turned 40 in November, and 4 days after I turned 40, I woke up. My body was like, "Happy birthday! Here's a blood clot in your leg," and so I had a blood clot. So I was out for 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good times, man. It's good times.
Yeah.
So you had the repair. You didn't have them take the whole meniscus out. Is that correct? Okay. What does the repair entail? Do they stitch that back together? They fill it with fluid? What the heck?
They do stitch it back together. They use I think he said it was something like biodegradable, or he had some fancy term for it, but it's basically
biocompatible.
Yeah, maybe that was it. That sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah, something about how basically, thankfully, they weren't going to have to cut me open again and take the stitches out. And it was, I don't know, it was kind of disgusting just hearing about the process. And he made mention, I don't know if you guys seen videos of what a knee surgery looks like. I'm so glad I did not watch any videos before the knee surgery, because it is absolute, like, it's nightmare fuel. It's so disgusting.
Have you ever seen any?
Maybe, I don't know.
They, like, when they do knee replacements, they take the knee, they pull the leg, they remove the kneecap, and it's like a wet noodle. You can just move the leg around and all sorts. It's stomach churning. It's gross.
And he was talking about the process, and he's like, yeah, the meniscus, it was like a spring, and it was just bouncing around or something. I had to like push it down and then put a couple stitches in there. It's like, oh dude, just whatever, you know, but it was bad. But thankfully he sold me on the idea, because I'm a software engineer by trade, and I'm not like a blue collar guy. And the analogy that he gave me is like, if I was a roofer or something like that, it'd probably be in my best interest to get the where they cut it out, because then I could go back to work pretty quickly. Whereas because I'm just a desk jockey, I could afford to have a 6-month or whatever recovery period. And the benefit of that is I'm less likely to need a knee replacement when I'm older, because I'm still going to have that meniscus that's providing that cushion there. So, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully and I figure to that point, it's like, yeah, at mid-30s, I'm not a spring chicken, but thankfully my recovery process in my mid-30s is probably going to be so much easier than when I'm in my 60s.
Yeah.
So let's try to front load that misery there.
I'm always a little bit leery when they want to remove something. And to me, my opinion is like, well, I was born with it, so I want to keep that there as long as I can. And the meniscus and stuff, that just makes me a little like, that's there for a reason.
Absolutely.
You know, but yeah, besides that. Anyway, so you had a day job, or you still have a day job?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do contract work as well, like a software engineer.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you had this surgery, you're out of work, or you're
No, thankfully I still had the contract work. One thing I did find myself with significantly more time on my hands, because prior to surgery, I was also training a little bit of Muay Thai and some other stuff there. And it was probably a little much, in that there were some days where it's like 3 sessions a day, especially on Wednesdays, because I do like a little striking in the morning and then jiu-jitsu in the afternoon. And then there was also, it's probably actually closer to 4, because then I would do the judo and Muay Thai classes, whatever. Nice. I was training a lot. And so I had all this free time. I'm like, hey, let me start this little side project here, right? And so, that was when I did start managed memberships. So I was still tied to that community in terms of, I wanted to now, because prior to this and still, a decent amount of my work involves just writing code for, various other companies and that kind of stuff. So here's managed memberships was in service to jiu-jitsu and MMA gyms and stuff like that, helping them with their membership payments and waivers and that kind of stuff. And so that way I could at least feel like I was still participating in it. Right. And I got a couple buddies who do, one owns a gun range that uses it, but they also have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That was actually the gym that I did the meniscus. I tore my meniscus on. So, I helped them kind of switch to using managed memberships for their all-in-one stuff. And then Also, one of the early clients was Mayhem MMA out of Henderson, which is another gym that I train at. And that's actually the one that my son does MMA at as well. So,
right on.
Kind of helping the community. And it was one of those, oddly enough, too, it was because I had all this time on my hands and I'm trying to distract myself from the pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's in my leg. I started doing that. And then now that I'm healthier, it's like, oh, okay, I've got these obligations now. And so now I can't train as much as I would like to, but I'm still getting it in pretty frequently. So can't complain there.
That's awesome. Is it a little bit of a double-edged sword of like, I sold my buddies this program that I made and now I'm training here, but if there's any, like, you hear the feedback right away, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, hey, by the way, Joe's over there having a hard time logging in. And like,
it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, but it's like, I like to say I'm eating my own dog food in that, I have to go through the check-in process at Mayhem when I'm signing my son up, or they have this invitational that they're doing where it's just like, it's a little small competition amongst gym members. And I use my software to register for that. And so I get to see all the pain points.
Firsthand.
In a certain point, it's like, wow, this kind of sucks because I'm working if there's an issue. But in the same token, I enjoy it because I get to work with the guys over at Mayhem, love them to death, and help them through some of their business issues and also tech issues that they may have. I work with them a little closer than the typical managed memberships client because I'm there so frequently. But it's nice getting to see that other side of it. And I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate just how difficult it may be for their gym owner, right? Like they have this nice place that they can, show up and forget about the world for an hour.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like sort of that's their mission in terms of like the religious aspect, right? You hear about like these mission drives or whatever, like this is my ministry or what I'm providing to the community. And granted, there's obviously this capitalist part of it. And I think gym owners should make money and they should be rewarded for their efforts, but it's that two-pronged approach is that, hey, they're building this community, which I feel like that's where the real value add is. And as a function of building that community, I'm hoping that their efforts are rewarded financially as well, right? You don't want a guy who's helping you have this like great place that you can train,
go broke,
have his family. Yeah. It's like, you don't want his family suffering or, worrying about, are they going to keep the lights on at home and that kind of stuff, right? I think if they're providing this value to this community, they should also not have to worry about, that more material side of things.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's cool. I just experience a little bit of that, like just having, you got that skin in the game, and it's like that's got to be a quite a dilemma at times because it's like, well, yeah, Jonathan made it, so
yeah. Hey, we're having problems with the program today. Jonathan, where's Jonathan? We got to get him over here.
Yeah. This guy. Yeah. And I mean, thankfully too, is like, there more often than not, there's not issues in the sense of this says it should work this way and it doesn't. More often than not, if we have any issues, it's people are trying to do weird things.
Do things that you haven't thought of.
Yeah. And it like splitting payments up between various cards or doing
stuff
and
that you were like, wait a minute. Like, I didn't do that part. Yeah.
But
on the flip side, like you get to experience that firsthand because you're signing in, like you said, you're signing your son in, you're signing yourself in. You're like, oh, bingo. Or I know this works because I just did it. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I can help them. And sometimes I get useful feedback and some of it is like, yeah, hey, you're right. That functionality doesn't exist. And I should probably throw that in there. And I'm pretty quick to introduce a lot of that stuff. I had one client I was speaking with. Well, they're not even a client yet. It was a sales call. And the guy's mentioning, hey, we have this $25 late fee that we charge every time. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. Prior, a lot of the other gyms that I work with, instead, it's like an early cancellation fee, but they don't charge a late fee if you don't submit payment. I was like, okay, yeah, you guys want to implement that? Let me do that. And it hilariously, that got deployed. I was on a different sales call and some other person was like, hey, that is, I see you have a late fee. That's awesome. we've been on push press for years, and I keep asking them if I can throw in a late fee on there, and nobody's doing anything. Yeah, and so it's nice. It's nice to be able to present that to gym owners and say, oh, here, look, now you don't have to worry about that, right? This is because it is. I mean, it's one of those. I do feel like a lot of the incumbents have gotten to the point now where there are these big behemoths. There are these large corporations that they've probably sold to private equity, and they've reached the life cycle in their business where they're trying to maximize shareholder value, which good for them. I love capitalism just as much as the average American.
Making money's important.
But when you lose that sort of feedback loop and you stop paying attention to what is your customers want and what the true mission is, that's I feel like hopefully it provides opportunities for kind of the smaller guys like me who are able to onboard these people. And that's typically the feedback is, hey, you actually listen. I see that you're actually a better fit for what we're trying to do. Why? Yeah. Because I'm in that world and I get to use it. And
you have firsthand experience. Like,
absolutely.
This is a thing designed for gyms, for MMA, for gun ranges, for martial arts, for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, it's custom tailored for that, which is unique because if you've ever gone to like any kind of like the martial arts super show, the big thing that Black Belt Magazine used to put it on pre-COVID, like every year, and now they're doing like a virtual one. But I had the opportunity to go to one. Tyler's gone to one, right?
Yeah, I went. It's in Vegas.
Yeah.
It was in Vegas every year. The martial arts super show. Have you heard of it?
I have not heard of that one.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's they do like all sorts of, it's for business development, like for gym owners, for people like yourself that have product to sell. But it's also like a place to go train. They have all sorts of stuff, and it's usually over a weekend. But there are so many companies, some of them, most of them, I would say, are practitioners of some martial art or some self-defense seminar or trainer or something. And then there are companies there that are like, oh no, I don't train, but here's my thing, here's my thing. And you're like, how do you know how this is going to work in this environment? This, you're just pushing some product. You can kind of tell, whereas somebody like yourself that's got skin in the game,
eating their own dog food,
as you say, that's a great one. I'm going to use that.
I'm going to use that one too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you gotta, I think you have a leg up on a lot of those bigger developers that don't have anybody that actually lives and breathes in that environment. So that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like too, it's just a disconnect in terms of, again, capitalism's great. I love it. But there's this soulless capitalism that you can get to, right? Where you get a little bit too big for your britches, or, you're just focused on a spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, if you're just focused on that number or that almighty dollar all the time, then I think that's what you end up with. There's a balance.
Yeah.
Like in the martial arts, there's a balance there. Too much of one thing leads to not enough of the other. And it's a delicate balance. It takes you got to swing back and forth between the two things.
Now, what maybe this was mentioned, I didn't catch it. What's the name of your software?
Managed Memberships. So listeners can check out managememberships.com. That's managememberships.com. Also, happy to discuss anything if they drop me a line at john@managememberships.com. That's JON@managememberships.com.
Now, and this software, this is for gyms, any gun ranges, martial arts schools, anything that...
It sounds like whatever Jonathan has hobbies in, that's what it's for.
That's it. Yeah, I'm trying to monetize my hobbies. That's it. But yeah, when you think about it too, when you get right down to brass tacks, it's like the idea of managing paperwork or signatures and collecting recurring payment. It's pretty ubiquitous in a lot of industries.
Yeah.
The verticals that we've been focusing on is weightlifting gyms, MMA, BJJ gyms, gun ranges as well. Oddly enough, though, there was an ATV park that signed on recently out of Louisiana. Cool. They found me organically. That's not even a vertical that I was necessarily trying to approach. And they had evaluated some other software and they wanted to give Managed Memberships a try. They've been using it now. They're loving it. And
How cool.
Yeah,
Good for you.
It's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
And they just reached out to you cold?
Yeah, I think it was through SEO efforts. So I think they found me on Google or AI. I've been getting some inbound through AI as well, optimization. So
yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, that's changing the game quite a bit.
With management, is it managed or manage memberships?
Manage memberships.
Manage with no D. Okay. So with managed memberships, so this like obviously manages memberships. So somebody shows up to the martial arts school, they type in their username or their email, their password, then they hit enter, and that, what does it do after that? Or,
it's actually even easier than that, right? It's even easier than that. It depends on how you want to implement it, because I try to maintain flexibility or give people options, because every gym has slightly different operations. Common one is they'll have a kiosk, and they can have either an iPad or a computer that's open. People can go in, see the waiver, sign up, create an account. A lot of friction I've seen with some of our competitors is having children in there. And that seems to be a big revenue driver anyways for a lot of martial arts schools, right? They'll get the children in, and then the parents hopefully get sucked in as well. And then it becomes a family thing. And so the idea is it's stupid simple. I joke that it's CT easy to use, right? Because it's funny. Again, I love the Mayhem MMA guys to death. At a Christmas party, I watched them struggle to count to 14, but they loved it because it was a Dirty Santa thing, right? But they love the software, right? So it's super easy to use. Anyways, they go through and they do the waiver, and then depending on how you have it set up, it'll either start collecting payment, or they can do the one free drop in and that kind of stuff once they're in the system. Once they're in the system, though, the kiosk is super simple. You can either scan a QR code or enter your phone number, email address, name, however you want to do that, and select what class you're attending and that kind of stuff. So the idea is that there's also, depending on the level that the gym signs up for, they can get a custom branded app that makes check-in and registration much faster as well.
All encompassing.
All encompassing. Yeah, there's even the big one that the gun range uses is there's a 24-hour access component as well. And so that was a big motivator in creating the software for them. I've seen it a lot where you'll have one company that's doing the membership and billing and waivers and that kind of stuff. And then you'll have like Speco or some of these other offline solutions that are managing the key fob. And so with managed memberships, though, that's all in one, in that it sits on top of your Maglock system. And so somebody like a lot of the 24-hour gyms that are using it, they can scan a QR code at the door, sign up, they submit payment, submit their waivers, and they'll get a QR code that syncs to their Apple Pay or Google Wallet. They can scan that at the door, and then boom, they're in.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, some of them even opt in to do the camera integration. So that kind of helps with tailgating is the industry term, right? Where people are holding doors in, or people are potentially sharing, access information and that, right? So
yeah, how do you?
Yeah, so the idea is that someone scans in, and then if you got a camera on there, it sees who is the guy or a set of people who walk through that door, and then that way the gym owner can handle that as need be, right? So, hey, why are you letting in 5 people here who haven't signed waivers at 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
Was there? Did I hear you right that gun range was 24 hours?
There is a 24-hour gym that's assigned to. Yeah, unfortunately, they're not that cool in that you can shoot 24/7. There does have to be an RSO on duty and all that. But
it's 2:30 a.m. and I want to go shoot my 45.
That would be cool. That's a good business idea. Unfortunately, I don't think any insurance company would touch you with a 10-foot pole. Unfortunately,
no, not in California. Yeah. That's for sure. No, man. But I'd be there tomorrow if we could find one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
You and me both.
Right on. Sounds like you're living the dream, man.
I'm trying to. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. How long did it take you to develop that?
So I've been it took me from the moment I started writing code to the first onboarded customer, probably about 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
And of course, it was kind of in a more rough state at that point, and it's been, iterative and getting polished and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And the first 3 clients, they'll always have a special place in my heart. Mayhem MMA is one of those, and then also, the other 2 were businesses that were owned by friends of mine. And which Mayhem MMA, those guys are friends of mine now, but they weren't originally, right? They were strangers. In case they're listening, I don't want them to get offended. But and then it's been an iterative process, and thankfully, just after now we're approaching 2.5, 3 years in, and in 6 states, operating in 6 states, several customers, about to be operating in Texas. I'm pretty positive we're going to start onboarding somebody there, Jim. It's a referral from another MMA gym. So yeah, I've been slowly but surely growing, and it's great because, the more people that are using it, the more feedback I get, the tighter it gets in terms of, these weird edge cases that I didn't think about, now that there are several thousands of people using it, those edge cases become more common, and okay, we're going to address those. And thankfully, it becomes one of those, you get that experience and, okay, look, this is all the stuff that we support. This is very dialed in and focused.
How cool, man. That's awesome.
So for expanding, my question is okay, so martial arts schools, gyms, like where else are you thinking about expanding into?
Gun ranges is the vertical that I'm really trying to focus on at the moment. There's a fairly large enterprise client. I don't want to mention the name yet until we're fully moved over, but those typically are the deals that move the needle a little bit more in terms of revenue wise. Passion, though, I really love working with the small MMA and BJJ gyms. And I really think those guys need all the help they can get. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but it is one of those, if you invest all of your skill points in learning how to beat people up, oftentimes your sales and marketing and other skills kind of fall to the wayside, right?
Yes.
And,
it takes a load off of them.
Absolutely, yeah. And Managed Memberships has a lot of CRM, customer relationship management tools and automation and triggers and stuff like that. And I get oftentimes with those kind of gyms, sometimes they'll ask me some questions and bounce some ideas off of me. And I'm always really happy to kind of work with them and share some stuff, because I'm in the thick of it too, with sales and marketing and all that.
You're doing a lot on your own.
On my own. And I love taking stuff that I've learned, sort of trying to do B2B sales with Managed Memberships and tell them, hey, listen, this is some kind of stuff I've been experimenting with. And oddly enough, one of the most effective means has been phone call follow-up, which everybody and their brother hates, it seems like, especially like the MMA gyms and that kind of stuff. And I get it. I record myself a lot before and during calls, like outbound sales calls, and it often takes me at least 6 minutes to sort of get the courage to dial the phone, right? And it's one of those, just like to the jiu-jitsu stances. As soon as I'm hearing the ringtone, I'm committed. I'm not going to be some weirdo who hangs up and whatever. So I've got 30 seconds or whatever to figure out what's going to happen here. And I don't know. It's exhilarating though, because it's like a new skill. And I feel like a lot of gym owners, though, they kind of struggle with that. And sales. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, to your point, they spent all of their skill points learning how to beat people up, how not to get beat up, and then they decide to open a gym, which is a gamble. At the best, it's a gamble, and then they're doing everything. They're cleaning. They're washing. Selling the business, selling the memberships, their
maintenance,
their negotiators, their equipment buyers, their purchasing agents. There's so many different hats that they wear, and then it's like, oh, I gotta keep track of all of these people to make sure they're paying the bills, make sure they're buying the right equipment, make sure they're coming in every week. So there's a lot of stuff there to juggle. So if you can design something that fits that and makes one task easier. That, gives them a little easier lift on something. You got a gold mine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's been the goal. Again, it's like an existential threat. If Mayhem MMA goes out of business, I don't know where I'm going to send my son. Right. So I'm always trying to help them automate as much as possible, get them the reporting they need. And to that point, it's like they get the check-in reports, revenue reports. There's a lot of automated messages and stuff that can go out. If somebody hasn't shown up in a while, they can deal with that. And so, the idea is that, okay, great. At a glance, we can sort of get the pulse of what the business is doing and maybe where we need to put some effort or, pump the brake or throw some gas on it.
It puts a real mathematical, not a mathematical, but like a black and white, like here it is. Here's your stats, like the back of a baseball card,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what, I find it real interesting. I'm going to get a little weird here. When you got like, if you would have went back, let's say you never trained and you had this injury, you had all this free time on your hands because of this injury, would you have come up with something like this?
Probably not. No, because it was one of those where it had started basically working with my buddy at the gun range and seeing his thing. And I remember very explicitly saying, hey man, listen, I've got all this contract work I've been doing. I'm not trying to pitch you on any software. I want to make whatever you got going work. And I was working for free, volunteering, because I'm there for the mission, right? I believe what this person is doing in the community. And so I'm down to help him. Whereas, a lot of vendors are just, hey, how much can I extract from this individual?
I need to make my bonus this month.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. And so, and mine had started, strictly service. Like I'm trying to, again, help this individual get through this. And so, it was only my exposure and kind of seeing firsthand what the issue was. I probably wouldn't have thought of, hey, yeah, we got to do some membership management. I'm sure I probably would have had, who knows, right? Probably something significantly more lame and less interesting in terms of, it's great because I'll be able to go on vacation and stuff and see other gyms and talk to them potentially about, hey, how can we streamline this for you? So
that's cool. Go ahead.
Oh no. So maybe I missed this. Apologies if I did. So this idea came about while you were injured, was it, or?
Correct. Yeah, it was right around that injury time because I was basically already on crutches, and then there was a couple month period before I could actually have the surgery. But the true hardcore development definitely started with my knee, cut up and having the stitches and stuff like that. So
having to recover. Yeah. Basically, like I got to find a way to get myself back in this gym. So like, what can I do? It's funny. Tyler's similar story. He broke his leg hunting, and the next week, like everybody hears about, how it is, everybody's buddies. So everybody's like, oh yeah, did you hear, Tyler broke his leg. He can't come in, And like the next Monday, he's like, comes crutching in on his crutches. And we're like, what are you doing, man? And he's like, well, I can't train, but I can watch and I can take notes.
Yeah.
And like, he has one of the most dedicated notebooks that I've ever seen for is like any martial arts thing. It is awesome. And I refer to it and I tell people about it any chance I get. But yeah, I was like, I got to figure out a way to be here in this, in some capacity.
Absolutely.
But that to me is like, that's the whole name of the game. Like, that's awesome.
And it's interesting how, so like Bruce Lee, whenever he broke his back, I think it was, he had a back injury or something. He ended up writing, one of his most famous books while he was broke and recovering. And it's just interesting how things like that happen. And you could sit and watch Netflix, while you're recovering the whole time, but you were probably like, hey, I'm going to start working on this idea. And this, I've got this idea. There's a need for this.
Yeah. And it helps too. It's like, it's that same mindset of, trying to be better for my son and all that. Right. Cause it's like, again, I could have very easily, and it happens unfortunately a lot, you get that major injury. and knee surgeries aren't cheap, even with great insurance. And it's very easy to get in that woe is me. This is stupid. Why did I do that? And maybe that is the correct way to look at it. I don't know. But for me anyways, I was like, hey, I got to do something to distract myself from that negative thought pattern.
Absolutely.
Right? And just get at it.
Once you, and two, like once you start doing stuff, like once you're on the mats and that becomes like, that's my routine. This is what I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever you do it on. And then all of a sudden you can't do it for a reason, for whatever reason. It's like,
something's missing.
It's like a drug addict, but in all of the right ways, right? Like you start jonesing, absolutely. You're like, oh, dang it,
Absolutely.
I should be somewhere else right now, and instead I'm here doing this other thing, and so like at least that's my mindset. Like this is what I do. It no less than two days a week. I'll do more if I can, but if I can't do it at least 2 days a week in this building on these mats, then somebody's going to have a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird too. Like people hear that, and I know what you're talking about when you say that. People hear that, and a lot of them think, "Well, are you just like this angry person, and like you have to get out this aggression?" But I don't know. Especially as a blue belt, I'm getting beat up left, right, and center, right? And it's only like the white belts or the trial guys who I really get
beat up left, right, and center.
Well, it's funny. I always joke like at Mayhem, there's the guy who owns it, Nathan Manis, UFC veteran. He's fought there, and it's just funny because he's like it's 135-pound dude.
Yeah.
And he just like mops the mats with me. And he's a brown belt, but and he's always getting me in Kimuras, and I know it's coming too. And there's nothing I can do to stop it. Like I'll try to like frame differently and whatever. It's like, nah, dude, you're going to get it this other way. And so, but it's like, it's not even an aggression thing. It's just like a social ritual almost, right? It's like you're going in here, you're hanging out with your buddies. You guys are learning something. And again, it's just that mind body connection. And even if we're just flow rolling, right? And even if we're just flow rolling, I feel like I still get an immense amount of value out of that and that calming benefit, even though it's not necessarily aggression. It's something, I don't know, more transcendental than that. Right. But if someone hasn't experienced it, they wouldn't know.
And I don't know that if just doing it one time, for some people, it seems like just doing it the one time, that's it. That's all they need. And then they're like, oh yeah, this is the thing. But I think it, like for myself, I'm a little slower to come to new things. And you do that a handful of times and you're like, I don't know why I keep coming back, but like, I really enjoy the feeling I've got when I'm walking out the door. And whatever that is, I want to repeat that as much as possible. But I like what you said about the flow rolling and the higher, what did you say? Higher consciousness or higher?
The transcendental nature of it all.
Nature. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I always hear, I got buddies who golf. That was something that never really struck me, but they talk about how you get that one stroke or whatever they call it, right? And
chasing that one little thing.
And I still, to this day, 5 years later, remember my very first submission that I ever got on anybody. We were working Keza, and it was that where you can, if they have their arm out, you can turn it into an Americana with your other leg. And it was great because someone had done it. We were doing this like it was like positional sparring, and we were rotating amongst people. And someone had hit me with it, and I was like, and I was still a white belt on time. I was like, wow, this sucks. Like that, who would have saw that coming? And then the very next guy I went with, I was on top, and then he had his arm out there like an idiot, and I was like, oh, hey, let me do this, and he tapped. And there was a moment of panic because I'd never tapped anybody. It's like, whoa, wait a second here. What is happened? This? But it was that, oh man, wait a second. This jujitsu stuff is real. This is something I could potentially learn. So that was it for me. And I think maybe that's where it finally clicked. And I was like, okay, I've been chasing that feeling ever since.
Yeah. It's a great, that high for lack of a better term, that thing. It's like once you learn something like that, it's like learning the magic trick, right? Like, I'm a little older than both of you, but like David Copperfield You know who that is? The magician?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
He do all the crazy magic tricks. And like, as a kid, I was like, I didn't want to figure it out. I just wanted to know, like,
Right.
how did you do that? How did that happen? That's like, you're getting the answer in here, right? Like, you do something and it's like, I know the magic trick. I know where the rabbit comes from before it's pulled out.
Absolutely.
Of the hat, and it's like,
Yes.
I can't wait to do that again.
Yes.
It's just so awesome.
Do you ever do any competing, like any tournaments or anything, or is that on the horizon?
I want to do. I have not competed as a blue belt yet. I've done 3 competitions as a white belt. My very first one was an IBJJF, and I drove. I'm in Southern Indiana, so I drove. It was like 14 hours to Orlando, and and I got a mud hole stomped in me, and it was funny. I mean, it was what it was, but I still remember the guy took me down. Ended up getting knee on belly. And I hate watching the video now because I was just writhing around doing nothing to try to improve my position. I know that now, right? There's so many different things. Like it's like you're just yelling at the screen, like, what,
Stop.
But yeah, swim under, whatever. But I lost some points. I mean, thankfully he didn't sub me, but it was like 20-0 because he did like the transition stuff and kept getting side control and whatever. But I just remember too, though, like after doing that, my heart was beating out of my chest, and it wasn't cardio. It was just like it was that high, that adrenaline dump. Yeah. And I just remember like shaking his hand afterwards and thanking him, and it was like such a genuine thank you because even though I lost, I cut weight, I trained hard for 3 months plus, drove 14 hours, paid $100 to get my butt kicked, and it's like, how many other men in their 30s can say that they did that? Okay, at least I showed up
and had fun. Yeah.
And listen, and we afterwards we ate a steak dinner. I forget the name of the place, but it was delicious because I had been cutting that whole time, so I got the steak and potatoes and all that. And then we ended up going to Disney World, and it's like I dried my tears in Disney World. And so it was a fun event. The whole family had fun there. So I'm looking forward to trying to compete as a blue belt. Unfortunately, it's one of those where I guess it's cope, but it's the scheduling. It's very difficult to try to get that in. Even though I'm training 5 days a week pretty consistently and getting the cardio in, I feel like I probably should train a little bit more kind of to get in that competition prep phase, and hit up some of the strength and conditioning classes and that kind of stuff to really boost my gas tank before competing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How cool. How fun, man. Yeah. You were talking about watching tape of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I hate watching tape of myself. It's so like, you're like, oh, I could have done that better. Or
that's got to be a good sign though, right? If you're not embarrassed by your past performance, that means that you haven't made any progress.
Oh,
so,
man. Publicize them. And then you'll be like, oh,
yeah.
I just by nature of what we do, I'm constantly like talking to the camera. I'm constantly filming stuff. And you're like, really? Yeah, it's a humbling experience. So I empathize with you for that. How fun, man. Anything else you got there?
No, I think so.
Jonathan, we usually do about an hour. So this is we're hitting our sweet spot right now. So I want to make sure that you let everyone know all your social media links, your website, all of that stuff. This is your time to sell the goods.
Yeah, absolutely. Please visit managememberships.com. That's manage with no D, managememberships.com. Happy to respond to any direct questions that you may have. That's John, Jon, at managememberships.com. Also on Instagram, Jonathan M. Klem. And we have a YouTube channel as well, specifically for managed memberships. Just Google or look up managed memberships on YouTube. And our SEO and AI game is actually getting pretty up there. So, just Googling managed membership should get you in the proper spot as well.
I can attest to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you get emails all the time, and it's like, who's this? Oh, okay. Well, let me Google it. Let me throw it in ChatGTP and find out what the heck is this? Is it legit? I've gone down many rabbit holes that was not legit. So, but
surprise.
Yeah, so I was able to find it just like that. So
excellent.
Whatever you're doing is working.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's it. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot prepared in that. I mean, again, hopefully there's something in the show notes or however you guys distribute that as well.
Yeah, genuinely, I will put all your links that you gave me in the notes and make sure those are posted everywhere. So, yeah, we'll take care of that.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, hopefully people check out managed membership. So
that's the plan, right? That's the plan.
Yeah.
What else we got going on? We have a seminar coming up with Randall Davis of Kung Fu Conversations and Red Forest Chinese Boxing on September 12th and 13th. The 13th is open to the public, and you can find the tickets for that on our website, formlesspod.com. Right on, friends, grasshoppers. Until next time, thanks for being here.